guys, and welcome to a new episode of A Dog Soul. I'm Anita, I'm your host and a professional dog trainer, and today we're gonna talk about how you can deal with bad comments, hurtful comments, and why you might receive these. So stay tuned and have fun. Alright, welcome back. So, very often I hear from clients that as soon as they started obviously working in a nice way with their dogs, with rewards and food and praising the dog and rewarding him with behaviors he likes to do, like rolling in the dirt, watching game or something like that, that they receive hurtful comments. And this very often also happens whenever it comes to dog-on-dog encounters or dog-on-human encounters. And as soon as people try to be responsible, increase distance, walk in a curve, and just avoid direct contact. And I don't know why, but that somehow triggers some people. So they feel the need to voice some weird opinions, and some of them just want to be rude. So this is one thing, getting comments from a stranger. And the other thing, the more difficult to deal with, I think, is getting comments from inside of close circle, so friends and family. And what some people like to do is they try to explain themselves and they try to change other people's opinions, try to change other people's way of dealing with their own dogs and stuff like that. And unfortunately, that builds up frustration, because very often they get into fights because of it. Not because they are trying to make the world a little better and teach people how to be nice to their dogs. That would actually be a great thing. But they are trying to change other people, and that's not working. So I'd like to differentiate between strangers and familiar people. Because with strangers, I think what's really needed is a very thick skin. If you know what you're doing, and if you're absolutely sure that this is working, and you like to continue working with your dog in a nice way, and rewarding him, and work together instead of against each other, and strangers don't get that, make fun of you, voice some rude comments, or try to trigger you, you have to ignore that. I know it's really difficult and it makes us sad very often, and it happened to me as well. People told me, since I'm using a long leash, it was actually a 10-meter line, that I'm abusing my dog. Of course, that long line was attached to a harness, not to a collar. So there was no way in hell that this dog would feel any pain, any discomfort from that leash. But yeah, the woman who said that to me was actually using a choke chain on her dog. So, and she was letting him off leash in an area where you have to use a leash or a muzzle, and her dog wasn't leashed or muzzled. So, and again on a choke chain, which she repeatedly pulled on whenever she tried to hold her dog. So if you have a close look at who is saying these things to you, and you realize that they are the ones who are harsh to their dogs unfriendly to their dogs and really sometimes actually mean, you can see that they are only frustrated because they see a nice method works for you and they just don't know how to use it. And so they're stuck in their abusive, punishment-based training style, and maybe they're even jealous because you're such a nice team with your dog and they just can't reproduce that with methods they're using. So don't give a rat's ass about these people and their opinions because, yeah, they're worth nothing. And whenever your dog has a little difficulty in a situation and he's showing some behaviors that are, embarrassing for you and you get bad comments after such a behavior, then it hits really hard. I know, because you're embarrassed that your dog's acting that way and then you receive a punch from some stranger who is again getting their own dog in order with pulling on choke change or something like that. I know it hurts. I know it makes us doubt ourselves and doubt our methods and doubt our progress we already had with our dogs and with our methods. But we have to get a really objective point of view on these comments. So whenever you receive those, of course, you will have an emotional response. Yes, you do. That's normal. And it's understandable. But try to do one thing. Try to calm yourself down and get yourself into a neutral or happy state of mind again. However you want to do that. You could leave the house so you are separated from the dog and the issues you have. That's okay. You might want to watch a funny movie. You might want to turn up the music and start dancing or something like that. So anything that gets you off that negative emotion and into a nice state of mind. And as soon as you've reached that, try to look back at the situation and your dog and the behavior of your dog and the other person and their dog and how they communicated with each other and stuff like that. Try to view the situation from a neutral and objective perspective. And then you try to assess if you could have done anything better. And if there is anything, then you can try to implement this new technique or this new whatever in the next situation. But don't beat yourself up. It happens. We all make steps back. Our dogs could react or show unwanted behavior, even though we have had amazing results. Because they have been doing the unwanted thing for an amount of time and it has worked for them. So sometimes they may get back to that because they are startled or because they have a tummy ache and somehow they remember that this worked before. So there may always be some setbacks. And that's natural. That's okay that everything happens for a reason. And this happens because it gives you the opportunity to review your training style and maybe even your mindset on that day. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you were angry at something else or somebody else or something like that. So it's a chance to review, regroup, try again. And you don't know anything about the other person. Maybe they got the dog as a puppy and the dog has never shown any problematic behavior or any unwanted behavior because the dog is so afraid of the person that he's too scared to behave at all. You don't know that. And if you have decided that you don't want to work with your dog using fear or punishments or pain, then you have made this decision, and of course your dog is a live animal and he will behave. And sometimes the behavior is not really something we would like to see, and sometimes the behavior is really amazing. So don't doubt the method. Don't doubt yourself and don't doubt your dog. Just try to assess the situation from a neutral point of view. And that brings us to the more difficult part, or maybe the more easy part, depending on the people you're dealing with. And that's friends and family. Maybe your family and friends have had dogs themselves for their whole life and they're very set on specific method or have their beliefs and they don't want anything new. Then you have a very difficult time explaining yourself or explaining the method and getting them to understand. And to be honest, you cannot make every person understand. It's just like that. So I'm doing a lot of free stuff online and helping people in Facebook groups and something like that. And sometimes there are people who don't want to see the possibilities of positive training and positive reinforcement. They just want to keep punishing the dogs because it gives them some kind of reward themselves. Because let's be honest, aggression is self-rewarding for humans as well as for animals. So whenever a person uses punishment, so is showing aggressive behavior towards an animal, and the animal stops the unwanted behavior, it's a reward for the person. So of course they will keep doing that. And very often people don't want to think about it too much because they would realize that it's not okay for the dog to be treated that way. And we have to accept that. It's very hard and it's very frustrating, I know, but we have to accept that. It's their dog, and if they're not abusing him in a physical way, we cannot do much about it, unfortunately. And we can try to lead by example. Sometimes that works really well. So if people see that we get results not using punishment, but using things the dog likes, and they see how our dog's eyes sparkle when they are asked to do something for us. And they, for example, they were reacting to other dogs, and now as soon as they see another dog, they turn to us with a huge smile on their face, and they know that we help them. And they're not stopping behavior altogether, but they are altering their behavior so that it fits our needs and their needs, and it looks just like very, very, very much fun. And if people see that, then they might think about their own way of treating the dog. But if they don't, we can't force them. If you're dealing with open-minded people who are really interested in your way of dealing with your dog and your way of communicating and rewarding and stuff like that, then you can, of course, seek out open conversation and just talk about it. And don't try to convince people of your way, but just try to describe and try to explain and tell people how much fun it is for you to work with your dog that way, and the results you're seeing and the fun you're having together and stuff like that. So make it convincing without trying to convince them. It's hard in the beginning and it takes extreme impulse control from us, but it's worth it, because whenever people don't feel like they're pushed into something, they are more open-minded for trying stuff and giving it a go. And I think that's the ideal way of getting people on our side. Yeah, it sounds a little weird, but yeah, there have been created 2 kind of camps in the dog scene. And yeah, but that's another issue. All right, so there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that's for all of you who live in countries with idiotic breed lists. So some breeds are on a list, and those listed dogs are considered dangerous because of their breed. We don't have to discuss that, that's very dumb, but well, yeah. And even in countries where there is no such thing, sometimes specific breeds are a little stigmatized. And to name a few, I would say Rottweilers, Pit Bulls, Staffs, and sometimes Mastiffs, however they get on that list, or Bulldogs. I don't know. So they are randomly thrown together and considered dangerous. Yeah. And if you live with such a dog, and you live in a country where your dog or the breed of your dog or the optic or something like that is considered dangerous, then you may see people who change directions when they see you, who avoid passing by your dog, who whisper behind your back, and even may call your dog names, even though your dog does nothing wrong or is very polite and such a sweetie and you don't understand. Those are people who either believe everything news tells them, so yeah, very sad, or they are either afraid of dogs in general or dogs that look like yours. And you cannot really do much about that. But what you can do, and what gives people a little boost of nice emotions, is if you are obviously very nice to your dog. It's funny because then people seem to see a sweet little character behind the muscular physique of your dog instead of just, 4 legs and a head. So what I mean by that is, for example, you're in the park with your dog and you're walking towards some strangers and you see them act in a special way or not or whatever. And as you approach them, you tell your dog, "Hey, look, there are people. Let's go to the side a little bit." So we give them more space and we are polite. And you say that in a very friendly, very playful, and very sweet tone. Watch the faces of the people. Very often you see smiles there. And as you see a smile creep into those people's faces, you have created a nice emotional response to your dog. And that makes it less likely for those people to talk about you or talk in a bad way about you and your dog. And that again makes it a nice experience for your dog and for yourself. So all in all, what I'm trying to say is, don't try to change other people. Try to make your walks and your encounters as pleasant as possible for you and for your dog. And try not to listen to people who just don't know it better or who just want to keep punishing their dogs. It's not worth it. It's not worth your energy, your time, and your emotions. Be happy with your dog. Celebrate the little wins and, of course, the big wins. And whenever you feel down, try to find something that gets you up again. It doesn't have to be with your dog, but of course, if your dog helps you get into a nice state of mind again, then use that and remind yourself why your dog is so special, why your dog is so incredible and so amazing and so cute. And I promise you that will make it better. if you focus on why your dog is great instead of one little stupid comment from somebody you don't even know. All right. If you want to talk about it, if you feel the need to talk to somebody on the outside, write me an email. I'm happy to respond and try to help you with your specific situation. And if you need more help, I'll be happy to invite you to my homepage and to set up an appointment for a little detailed talk. All right. And if you have any topics you want to have discussed, if you have any questions, something like that, or if you just want to tell me why your dog is amazing, I would be so happy. And yeah, if you want to do that, write me an email, write me a WhatsApp, or whatever is more comfortable for you, and I'll be happy to hear from you soon. Until next time.